start recording. And today we're going to be talking, I'm going to have Hannah Harper who's going to be presenting branding and messaging. We're going to be getting into the more nitty gritties of controlling your message in the community and making sure you're reaching those parents and mums and making sure that they understand what you're doing to, one, make them safe and their children safe and their family safe, but also that you are a legitimate professional organization that is positive, that can be a positive part of their lives. And, you know, one of our goals in Creatively Disruptive right now is to just really help the gymnastics community develop a really strong communication process so they can really control the narrative on what's going on, you know, in their community. You know, if right now there's a million reasons why you should be controlling the narrative and making sure that every parent thoroughly understands what you're doing and the good things that are happening in your business.
Because my internet connection is unstable.
Hey, Kay, for some reason I can't ever mute Kay. Kay, can you mute yourself? For some reason my system won't let. Kay's got some superhuman power. I can't mute her. So basically we're going to be working on you know, helping you develop that process. And as I said, we have, you know, here we go. We're going to have yeah, we've got lots of reasons to actually have a really strong control over our message and consistently get out there. Yesterday, I shared with you that for about $10 per 1,000, you can reach your audience. And the cool thing is if there's, say, 100,000 people in your local community, drive-up community, about 15,000 of them are going to be kids. Around about 15,000 are going to be parents. And if you do your targeting an audience really well, you're going to be able to reach those 15,000, which means it's going to cost you about $150 a month to reach all the parents in your community, right? So, you know, that's once. Our recommendation is that you actually reach them, you know, at least once a week, maybe twice a week. If you do that over a year, you're going to absolutely control the narrative, at least in the Kids Activity Center area. And then finally, you know, even before the coronavirus and all the different things that are going on right now, which are really kind of stressful and probably forcing us to up our game when it comes to communication to our communities. You know, the gymnastics community in itself had some, you know, difficult periods, and it would have been very good if each of us were able to really control the narrative in our local communities, right? So we control what's being said about gymnastics and about ourselves, you know, within a 10-mile radius, and we could actually make a big difference in controlling how people view gymnastics. Obviously, we had, you know, the unfortunate stuff with Larry Nassar and USA Gymnastics. You know, my goal is to hopefully help you guys develop a process where if something like that happens, you can actually share a different narrative than what the mainstream media are wanting to send out there. So with that, Hannah is going to talk about messaging and branding and a little bit about websites and the importance of making sure your website is put together correctly. And I'll hand it over to you, Hannah.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy. So before I kind of kick off, a couple things. It's a smaller group today, so we'll probably be able to have a little bit more conversation. But if you have questions throughout the presentation, you can send them through the chat box. And then Andy, if you want to just kind of respond to those, and if there's ones that pop up maybe that are more frequent, you can just stop me and I can kind of answer those. And then at the end, we'll have some time for also questions as well. I would like to preface it with that we're going to talk about a lot of different things, and each one of these things we probably could spend more time digging deep into, but it gives you a great starting point to really think about, kind of analyze your own business and where you're at, and giving you some action items to kind of walk away with at the end that hopefully will help you position your brand and your messaging in the way that you want to be within your community. So with that, just a couple things about me. I do have a background in sports. I've played sports, competed at the highest level for up until recently. I also run a nonprofit for youth sports. So I'm familiar from the fact that I not only work in marketing to support gymnastics, but I also run my own business where I have to do that as well. So I kind of see things from both sides. Within the Creatively Disruptive team, I oversee all of our gymnastics clients. I run the production team there, driving the strategies for them. And I also work directly with all of our e-commerce clients. So I get to be on the forefront of kind of new initiatives and things that are coming through when it comes to digital marketing. And then I love and nerd out over digital marketing stuff. So I'm in the Facebook, the gymnastics marketing group on Facebook, and you can tag me in things. And if you have questions about digital marketing, I love chatting about anything digital marketing too. All right, just a highlight of what we're going to cover. So we're going to talk about your top customer, who they are, what matters to them, things you should be thinking about right now, kind of think with the current climate that we're in. Writing ad copy that will resonate with your audience. So I'm going to give you some examples of what that would look like. Some things you might be able to take away to write your own ad copy or even Facebook posts or Instagram posts. And then we're going to talk a little bit and go through an exercise with coming up with your own unique selling proposition. And I'll talk more about what that is later. And we're also going to go over a brief kind of website checklist that will be really important, whether or not you run advertising, just to help you with just kind of some organic SEO ranking and ensuring that when people are going to your site, that they're having the best experience possible. All right, brand and messaging. So first thing is brand consistency is key, and kind of that can be really broad. So when we're thinking about brand consistency, that can be everything from the colors on your website to the fonts you're using to the tone of your verbiage, and making sure that that's consistent over all the different platforms that you're using. So most of us probably have a website, a Facebook page, and an Instagram. We might have a YouTube channel, we might have a Twitter account, but thinking about what are all those different touch points, or your Google listing, for example, and is everything about my brand connected on all those platforms? A lot of times we'll work with clients where they'll have a website and a Facebook page and they're using all different colors and fonts and logos, and it's really hard to ensure that there's consistency and connection, which makes it confusing for the potential user to engage with you. Kind of emphasizing on that, what is your brand consistency look like? And so just kind of reemphasizing that the colors, fonts, language, theme. Another thing we want to be thoughtful of is trying to stay current. The digital space is always changing. So this can be one of the most overwhelming things to think about, is like the landscape of marketing and just Facebook and Instagram and websites and Google is always changing, and trying to stay current with that. One thing that I found that is helpful for myself within the nonprofit that I run is picking 2 or 3 channels and really investing in them versus trying to have 10 different. So rather than having a website page, a Facebook page, an Instagram, a YouTube channel, a Twitter account, a TikTok, and trying to manage and doing all those things, think, okay, I'm going to focus on having a website, a Facebook page, and an Instagram, and really trying to stay current and forefront there. And one thing that will help dictate which channels you should really invest in is knowing where your community is existing. So Andy, I think you can speak more to this, but in general, when we're looking at like the age range of moms and dads, the primary spaces that they're living in today is Facebook and Instagram. Kind of the younger generation mom and dads are really more on the Instagram channel, and more of the older demographic of parents are in that Facebook. And so focusing there might be a really good place. And that helps you kind of not get overwhelmed with staying updated on all the things that are happening. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's important to understand that probably 90% of your mums and dads are there and actively there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about your own usages. Unless you're one of the very, very few, 1 in 10 that might not be using Facebook or Instagram, that's where all the eyeballs are. And there's more so than watching TV, radio, reading newspapers. There's even more people on Facebook and Instagram than there is watching Netflix. So if you want to, in the United States, or actually worldwide, because I think there's 2 billion active users in the world. I think Netflix has maybe 1 billion users in the world, maybe less than that. Yeah. So, if you want to get your message out, there's never been a better way to do it. There really has never been a better, cheaper way to do it.
Yeah. And then the last thing, when it comes to like branding, something that's really helpful, especially if it's just you managing your marketing, for example, it's not necessarily as critical. But if you're someone that has a staff, or you have coaches that are managing your feeds, or you have somebody at your front desk that maybe is responding to messages, providing them with a simple brand guide or kind of a language structure can be really helpful in ensuring that that consistency is happening, but also so that they feel confident and also engaging in those platforms too. So sometimes people see the word brand guide and they get like, oh, that sounds like so much. We have like a 3-page brand guide for Creatively Disruptive. Super simple. It's the logo, the colors, the fonts, and maybe the hashtags. And that's where we've started. And then we build from there. And it's just really helpful when it comes to multiple people being engaged with keeping your brand up to date. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about your top customer. And it's just reinforcing and reminding ourselves who that customer is and what motivates them, and ensuring that we're crafting our message for our customers. So oftentimes, and I struggle with this as well, when I'm writing posts or ads for the nonprofit I run, I write them as if I assume that the people that are reading them understand or know what my business is and about. But you have to kind of take a step back and think, if this is a parent or that has never heard of my business, what do they need to know to be able to take the next action? So the nonprofit I run is for girls flag rugby. Like, nobody knows what girls flag rugby is. So if I speak to them as if they know, they'll get confused and they might move away. So we want to speak to them as if they've never heard of us. They don't know our values. They don't know what our programs are about, etc. And we also want to speak to them in a way that's motivating. So remembering what their why is. If you've been on any conversation with Andy, he probably has brought this up over and over again because it's so important. And remembering what motivates them to take action. So most parents, the number one motivator is ensuring that their kids are happy and healthy and enjoying what they're doing. And so thinking about crafting our messaging that supports that, it can be super powerful. And also thinking about when we're looking at bringing in new members, majority of them are people that maybe have not even done gymnastics before, been involved in those activities. And so speaking to them at a level that's not intimidating, not talking about becoming Olympic athletes, but talking about how they'll learn to do a forward roll in the Tykes class in your gym. Tell stories. So this is something that might be challenging if you've recently been closed and there haven't been a lot of stories happening in your gym. But as you're starting to reopen, capturing some of the things that are happening in your gyms, like let's say you're running a modified preschool program and instead of 20 kids now it's reduced to 8. You can tell a story about a new girl that's joined the program and how she's made new friends and built her confidence, blah, 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 blah. And just using that to motivate other parents to get involved. One thing that I found with e-commerce specifically, and it's very attributable to gyms, is using testimonials to drive people in. So if you have a great testimonial from a parent that talks about how their daughter gained confidence by joining your program, use that in your copy, in your messaging, because that's one of the best ways to speak to a potential parent. And just on that note, something that we were speaking about yesterday is, I can't remember the exact stat, but it was something like 80-something% of people will read like 5 to 10 reviews before they even like take the next action with your business. So and those reviews are essentially mini stories, right? So if you don't have reviews, think about how we can get more of them, but also know that those reviews are so powerful to get people to take next action.
Yeah, I just want to add on that with
Yeah.
with reviews, guys. Many of you are often probably thinking about how do you get better Google rankings. The best way to get better Google rankings now is to actually have really good reviews in a lot of them. You tend, I was talking to you about having tenure, and that tenure is really difficult to defeat. Having a lot of good positive reviews also fortifies you against competition. Because the Google algorithm, and actually the Facebook algorithm, especially with its own rating system, rewards those businesses with good rankings, because obviously Google wants to send people to good businesses. They don't want to send them to bad businesses, because they want their users to have a positive experience. So definitely make that part of your thought plan.
Yeah. And that kind of ties into the next point, which is that people are doing their due diligence. So they're looking at the reviews, they're asking their friends, they're looking at your feed to see how you're engaging with people. Like, think about yourself. Like, if you were to go shopping on Amazon, the first thing you might look at is which product has the best or the most 5-star reviews. And then you start there and then you go down that process. And so people take that same approach, especially when they're thinking about their kids. And right now, even more so, because something that some sports aren't even able to be available right now in some communities. So your gym may be able to open, but football may not be able to happen. So all those kids now are also looking for alternative opportunities to get involved. And people that would normally not be looking for you are also looking for you. So making sure that resume, so to speak, is primed so that when they do look at you, they're ready to take action.
Hannah, do you have any suggestions on how to get more reviews?
I think probably the lowest hanging fruit is to reach out personally to some of your most loyal members. So like, especially people that maybe stayed with you during the close down of coronavirus. That would be, like, I would say, a great place to start. And then what I would also recommend is moving forward is at the end of each program or session, or however you structure your gym, asking people to review the program or review your gym for you. And just kind of make that as your ongoing process within your gym, that you're always asking for reviews at the close of each session, essentially. That's a good question. Thanks, Ella. This is more just kind of like something that we should always be thinking about, especially right now, is what are parents thinking about? What are their fears and hesitations? So all of your communities are operating very differently. Some of us are coming out of extremely locked down areas. Some of us maybe have been really open during this whole time. Some of us have been maybe more influenced by the protests than others. So it's just thinking about what is the current climate and what are parents' fears and hesitations that maybe are influencing their decisions right now. And almost like listing those things down and thinking about, how is my gym addressing those fears and hesitations, and using that in your verbiage. So something we've recommended to our gyms is that we're working with is have a page on your website that talks about the protocols or the processes you're implementing to address concerns or fears around COVID. Like, this is the cleaning processes we're doing. These are the class restrictions we're doing. And it just gives parents that ease that may have that fear with the current climate. And I touched on this a little bit, but in crisis, there always comes opportunity. And I think our instinct right now might be that there's this fear with reopening and the uncertainty of what's going to happen. And one thing that I mentioned was that for those of you that are open or able to open or opening soon, there are other organizations that aren't able to do that kids normally would be involved with. And so that's a huge group of children that are looking for new opportunities because something they've previously done isn't available now. I know for us, we're probably not going to be able to run any programs for our nonprofit because it's somewhat of a contact sport all through the fall. So that's hundreds of little girls that now need something else to do, right? And they're looking for those different opportunities, and there's other organizations in their community that are doing that. All right, so I'm just going to quickly shift gears, and we're going to talk a little bit about some different creatives, like best practices when thinking about posting on your Facebook feed, but also, or Instagram feed, and also imagery through Facebook advertising. So things that you should think about when thinking about what pictures to use. A couple things, if possible, always recommend showing happy, smiling kids. You want to showcase kids that are really enjoying your program. So like, this is a picture of a little girl. She's hanging on a balance beam bar and she's smiling and enjoying the activity that she's doing. Focus on one child. This is more pertinent to people that are maybe in communities where the COVID is really hit and the idea of close contact is just kind of not ideal. So like when you're showing like group shots of all the kids like holding each other because they're best friends, like in normal times, that would be a great photo. But right now that might send a mental trigger to a parent that they're not adhering to like best practices with social distancing. Limit text to 20%. So what this means is that Facebook will, if you post things organically on Facebook and you post a picture that has no text versus a picture that has a lot of text, what you'll likely find is that organically the one with less text will get more reach and more engagement than the one with text. And the reason is that Facebook favors or kind of unfavors things that have a lot of text on it. And the general rule is that limiting text under 20% will help ensure that organically and through advertisement specifically, that your ad will reach the more people. And I think, this is an example of an ad image that we've done. And this is about as big as you'd want to go when it comes to like a text size to ensure that things are delivered. Dimension. So if you're not super savvy with the Facebook ads platform, default I would suggest is always do a square dimension. And this will display on all placements well. And it's the preferred placement when it comes to Facebook feed and Instagram feed. The landscape, like your traditional horizontal style of image, is really one that you want to try to stay away from, because when you're thinking about someone scrolling on their phone, you want an image that takes up as much space on their phone as possible. And the 1080 by 1080 is the perfect one, especially if you've paired it with some text. Use bold contrasting colors. So this is just, it helps catch people's eye. So this one we've used like a green and yellow text contrast, and it just kind of naturally draws your eye because it's bright. There's also slight contrast when it comes to the yellow and purple in the background. And so using colors that really stop, we call it thumb stopper in Creatively Disruptive. So what's an image that's going to stop somebody's thumb from scrolling? And a lot of times having something bright or really sharp is going to keep people from scrolling, or at least pausing enough to see if it's interesting to them. A couple other things that I haven't added onto the presentation that I think are really important is make sure that the background of your pictures isn't full of just random things like trash cans or garbage, or like, I don't know. It's often that we start focusing on just the one piece of the photo and we forget that there's like a overflowing trash can in the background. So just thinking about the whole composition of the image. And then another thing that I've posted about in the Facebook group as well is being very mindful of the diversity that you're showcasing in your imagery, and just making sure that both genders, races, etc., that you're representing well, and you're speaking to your community well, so that you're speaking to all the parents that are within your area. Okay, so this is a lot. This is an example of the text that we have drafted up for some of our own clients that are looking at messaging around your gym's reopening and how to speak to parents. You might be able to pull pieces from this. For those of you that are already open, this might be helpful to just ensure that now that you are open, running an ad that's make sure the community knows that, and ensuring that that message resonates and it's gets them to take the action of contacting you or signing up for a class. So first thing is the first 3 lines or first couple lines of your ad copy is really important. This is for those of you that maybe you're scrolling on your newsfeed, you actually can't see the rest of this messaging until you click see more. So having that first statement along with the headline being captivating enough to get someone to read more is really important. So in this instance, we're speaking to an emotion. We're speaking to the fact that we know that your kids have missed their friends and can't wait to get out of the house and get moving again. So parents are feeling it. Kids have been feeling it. They're ready to get out of the house. And now that parent, like, oh, I can resonate with that, they're going to read further. So this is just kind of a blanket stand-in, clear information. We're reopening. If you're already open, you can say we are open with preschool, ninja, and recreational gymnastics. And we're focused on fun and development. We're focused on helping kids fall in love with gymnastics, whatever that power statement is for you. This is one that we previously weren't really as adamant on, but now that with coronavirus and all the concerns that parents may have, we're addressing the fears that they may be thinking about. Your child's safety is our top priority, and we have a strict safety program in place for everyone who enters our gym. I was like, oh, okay. I know if my kid goes here, they're going to be safe. Then we have a clear call to action. Sign up for a free class, sign up for our open gym, sign up for our, I don't know, preschool program, whatever that is, by clicking below or calling us if you have any questions. One thing we're seeing that's working really well which is kind of new, is we're taking this approach of having multiple ways where people can contact you on the same ad. So even though you have a button that maybe takes them to a website, adding your phone number into your copy, adding in like, I don't know, like your address, those types of things so people know where you are and how to contact you is not a bad idea, so that people that want to call can call, people that want to go to your website and poke around can, those that want to submit a contact form on your website can. You're just giving them multiple options on how to engage with you. And then you just reiterate on the feelings that they're having. So if you have any questions on how we can help your kids safely get out of the house and get active and make new friends. And then here I've also added the link to my website in the actual copy, so they can click it in the copy or they can click it through the button. The headline. So this is something that you'll have to kind of test depending on what programs you're offering, but making it really clear what you're trying to promote. So in this instance, this is an ad to let everybody know that we are open. Sign up now or learn more about our programs, blah, 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 blah. And in this case, I just listed a couple of our primary programs at our gym. And then these are just a couple of the different button options. So it depends on really what you want people to do. So if you want people to contact you, learn more, message you, there's a couple different options you can use. If you're just wanting to send people to your website, something that might really work well is the learn more button, because then they can go to your website, learn more about your programs, contact you, etc. Okay, Andy, anything you want to add before I move on to the next thing?
I think it's just really important to flesh out what you want your message to be, and kind of like use the rules that Hannah just outlined to clearly get that out. I really advising as many people as possible to flush out what the message is that they're trying to get out. And many of you probably have a similar message where you're trying to show your community that you're safe. And like Hannah said, there is tremendous opportunity if your community does feel that you're safe, right? I mean, Hannah has her organization. She's dealing with probably, worldwide thousands of little girls that probably can't do what they need to, what they want to do. And they're active kids. They like to be active. They want to do stuff. They have parents that have an active mentality. They want their kids to be active. And there's a lot of kids that don't have that opportunity right now. So, and I know, Jan, you were speaking about that yesterday about, getting the community and parents to understand that, what your procedures are and how safe they are. And I think in itself, we talk about all the different things that parents want. And typically in normal times, we're looking at friendship, physical health, strength, building confidence, blah, blah, blah. All of those are important. On top of that right now is safety. Yeah. Right. So whilst we want to have that little weaved in narrative of confidence and all that normal stuff that we want to do, it has to be a very strong message, maybe the strongest message of safety. Your kids are going to be safe. You're going to be safe. Grandma and granddad are going to be safe if you do business with our gym. So you're going to get the best of all worlds, safety for your family and health and development for your child, which is a struggle to find right now. So I think you all have a great opportunity if you do this well. So hand it back to you.
Yeah. And so this slide is going to kind of go through a couple questions that I think can help guide us down a path of crafting better messaging. And it starts with understanding what makes you different, not only really within your community of all the options that people have. So it's not just looking at if there's a gym down the road, what makes you different from them, but what makes you different between the soccer club and the football club and the softball team and, you know, the karate class or whatever. So what are all those things that make you different from all those other options? So looking at and thinking really about and attaching those things to what the outcome your ideal customer really wants. So like Andy was saying, customers, your potential members, they want their kids to be safe first and foremost right now. So how are you addressing that? How are you addressing the fact that they still can be engaging and making new friends even in the current climate that we're in? And then really focusing on how you can create those outcomes for them. So we are creating safe spaces for all of our new members through reduced class sizes and reinforcing this social distancing while still having fun, for example. And really thinking about what factors would motivate them to sign up for your program. So I think even right now, those things are a little bit different. So people are shopping for options for their kids and looking at who's the safest program, something my kid's gonna like, financially makes sense, yada, yada, yada. And then really focusing on and speaking to those motivations. And really just always thinking in the back of your head, why should they choose you over anyone else? And it's not necessarily about like calling everybody out, like, oh, we're better than X gym down the street. It's just making it so clear and obvious to them that when they are shopping for those options, it's a no-brainer.
And let me just add to that.
Yeah.
The main reason why they should choose you over anybody else, if I'm honest with you, is because you're the only message that they're probably going to be hearing.
Yep.
If you're doing this correctly. Remember, the rest, in the best of times, in the best economy, with no difficulties out there, your competition does a pretty poor job of communicating to its community. And when I say competition, anybody that wants to do anything with kids, right? Right now, it's that on steroids. Yeah. So, you can easily craft your message showing parents that you are the best option for them, because quite frankly, you'll be the loudest voice and it's not costly, right?
I would just add to that too, Andy. Now more than ever, people aren't spending money on advertisement because they're just so cautious of like budgets and stuff, which makes it even more of an opportunity to use Facebook advertising, because if you use it correctly, your message will be the only one people sees. And especially right now, it's like the cheapest time ever to actually advertise because you're not really competing with as many people either. So It's kind of a sweet combination, and over time that'll change slightly, but right now it's just a really unique opportunity to speak to your big community who's also looking actively at a cheap level, which is
And even the parents that are risk averse are actually really looking, like they want to find something that is low risk, but they want to do something with their kids. I mean, most parents, even the most risk averse parents, wish that they could do something with their kids, right?
I would add too that people are also tired of online stuff right now. Like they want to get their kids out of their houses. Like they're just done with that, especially summer's here, school's out. And people want to invest and get into programs too.
I just saw a question here from Dave, which is, I think, a good question. So there's a real distinction between Google AdWords and Facebook and Instagram. Google and Facebook is two entities, don't really get on, they don't have the closest relationship. But the reality is they've built two platforms that actually work really well with each other. Now, Facebook is the platform to put an idea in someone's head, to introduce somebody to something new. Google is the platform to help to produce a search result for someone who's actively trying to find something. So Google is a very reactive medium. So someone types in gymnastics and your search result comes up. Facebook is a what's the opposite to reactive?
Prospecting. Proactive?
Proactive, that's it. A proactive way of putting the thought into somebody's head, right? We typically, if you were to ask us, where should I put my money if I'm going to put it into one, I'll always say Facebook and Instagram, because there's way more people in your community that don't know you even exist or aren't even necessarily thinking about gymnastics that could be sold on it than there is people actively searching for gymnastics, right? So, but if you end up doing, and we have a number of gyms that are actually, spending a good deal of money to cover both, and they're getting really good results. But if your budget is a little tight and you're having to, be thoughtful of it, I would say Facebook and Instagram to begin with, because you can reach all of those parents in your local community and start putting that thought into their head. Google doesn't put thoughts into people's heads. It helps them find something that they're actively searching for.
And I would just add to that, Andy, I know for myself, before I started working with Creatively Disruptive, when I thought of gymnastics gym, I only thought they did gymnastics. Like, I didn't know. And when I thought of gymnastics, I thought of like high school girls competing. And so I have a 2-year-old, and I know most of you probably offer programs for little kids, like 2-year-olds, they do a tumble class or something like that. And for me, I'm not looking for a gymnastics program for my son. But if I saw an ad that said, oh, tumble program for mommy and me, oh, I didn't know this gym offered that program. Now I'm interested in taking the next step. And it really comes to like educating your community on all the things that you offer, that people like myself, I wouldn't even know to think that your business would even offer something for my child. And so I wouldn't be searching for you, for example, on Google.
Right. And Dave's done a follow-up question about budgets.
Yeah.
Hannah, what would I know you would live in the world of Google AdWords and Facebook AdWord budgets.
Yeah.
What budgets would you recommend?
So it's kind of it's a combination of things. So you have to look at first your audience size, which is a big factor, and how quickly you want to reach your whole audience. So if you have an audience of 20,000 people and it takes $10 to reach 1,000 of them, well, that gives you an idea of like, okay, so for every $10 I'm reaching 1,000 people. So if I'm spending $100, I'm reaching whatever. So you just looking at that combination. It also comes down to the type of campaign you're running. So if your goal is to get within Facebook, there's like 3 primary levels of campaigns you can select from. So there's like brand awareness, consideration, and conversion. And typically brand awareness is the cheapest way to reach as many people as possible. So if you were to run a brand awareness campaign, you could reach all 20,000 people in the span of a couple days with like $20 to $30 of spend potentially. Whereas a conversion campaign, which you're focused on getting people to do a much more committing like transaction and like actually signing up for a program, Facebook sometimes charges you more to get that outcome. So it's kind of looking at, that as a holistic picture. Traditionally, what we kind of blanket suggest for most of our gyms based on like the average audience size is around $25 a day for Facebook. And that allows us to run multiple types of campaigns, which means that we can speak to different people based on how they engage best. Right. The lowest we would run usually is around $10, and it really just comes down to like how fast you want to reach your goals.
They'll jump on that because if you think about the audience that might be interested in Ninja compared to the audience that might be interested in Kinder Gym to the audience that might be interested in girls gymnastics, they potentially are a very different audience and the different type of person that we want to reach, or a different mindset. So, we want to speak with them in a different way, right? So that's why you might run 3 different campaigns at once. That's why you might want to be spending $25 a day. Yeah. So the less campaigns that you run, maybe the less money that you need to spend. And we have some very small markets that are spending, as Hannah said, $10 a day, and they're running impression campaigns in a small market, which means that their market absolutely knows who they are. And their message is totally, basically anytime a mum logs online, they're going to see something about their gym. And it ends up meaning that mum gets programmed into thinking, this gym is my go-to place when I want to get my kids involved. So, from a budget standpoint, Dave, it really depends on what you want to do, but I would say ranges between anywhere between $10 would be the lowest I would advise, and we would do with our clients, all the way up to, I've seen some clients spend 50 to 60 a day, right? If they've got lots of things happening, and camps, or some of them have swim schools as well, and they've got a lot of stuff happening, and they've maybe got bigger budgets. So, and then when it comes to Google AdWords with gyms, I would say $10 to $15 a day would be the most you'd want to spend.
And I would say, Dan, just to add on top of that, you might find that if you're spending money on, let's say you go down the route of spending money on Google Ads, you might see that there's there should be more traffic going to your website, which would influence maybe some of the budgets you're spending on Facebook to like retarget those people. So it's kind of like a balancing act if you're going down the route of using both platforms.
Because where I was talking before about the Google being reactive, and Facebook being proactive. When somebody searches on Google and then goes to your website, then we know that they're really interested. They're a hot commodity when it comes to, because they're actively searching for an option. We want to make sure that Facebook picks up on that so we can remarket to them, right? So we can go, hey, we know you looked at us, come back, make sure you do business with us, right? So that's why it works so well together.
Cool. All right, I'm going to kind of transition a little bit. So I want to talk a little bit about what we call a unique selling proposition and how to craft that for yourself. So we use this internally for when we're thinking about e-commerce businesses, but it's very applicable to small businesses as well, or local businesses, and basically helps you craft the kind of 1 sentence statement about who you are and who you serve. And so this is an exercise you can go through yourself. You can basically kind of plug in these phrases as you go. So if I'm doing this gym for my gym, Hannah's Gym, who am I serving? Who is this for? So in my gym, this is for kids ages 2 to 18 and who love being active and making new friends. So my programs are for kids who love to move, love to be active, and they want to make new friends. Hannah's Gym is dedicated to providing safe spaces. So I wanted to make sure that I was speaking to some of the fears that parents maybe were having, and ensuring that parents know that I am dedicated to this. Where your kids can get moving in a fun and engaging way. So my gym is a place where you know that your kids can get active in fun, engaging activities through our ninja, recreational, and preschool classes led by certified coaches. So this is essentially my power statement as a gym. And, if you think about your own gym, when you're going through some of those questions that we just went through in the previous slide, that can help you kind of craft some of those like power words that you can put into this unique selling proposition. Some of these are really straightforward, like, okay, your program serves kids ages 2 to 18, but really thinking about what are the things that you stand for and what matters to you, and what the type of customer you're trying to attract matters to them. And then really kind of the last statement I reinforced was led by our certified coaches. So for me right now, my power statement is really centered around safety and building confidence with parents. And so I've kind of ended with that. I would highly suggest that you kind of write down like this phrase, like the for blank, who blank, your name blank, and kind of start going through that process. Because especially if you're someone who's not comfortable with writing copy or writing messaging, this can get you started to really crafting a message that this essentially could be copy and pasted into an advertisement if you want to. Andy, I don't know if you want to say anything about unique selling propositions at all. No.
It's really important for you guys to think it through, and I think a lot of times we don't think this stuff through. So be thinking what is unique about you compared to, remember, any other, not just gyms, but any other organization that is going after that same market. And this is a really good activity because many of you probably don't go through this process. So it's really, really important. It makes it much easier for you to put your messaging together as you go and build it. There you go.
Okay, so a couple things that we're starting to get into some action items. So install a Facebook pixel on your website. So whether or not you have run Facebook ads, are going to run Facebook ads, have a Facebook page, this is something that we always recommend doing, because what happens is that as soon as you install the Facebook pixel, Facebook will start getting information about who visits your website, what matters to them. And this really is, well, one, if you're running Facebook ads, it's a must, because you can't track people unless your Facebook pixel is installed. But two, the more people that go to your website when you have the pixel, the better Facebook knows who to send there in the future. So let's say you have the Facebook pixel installed on your website for 30 days before you even run an ad. Anyone that visits your website in that period of time, Facebook is getting information on and knows what matters to them. So that when you start running advertisement, Facebook will start sending more people who are like those people. In our academy, we have a tutorial on how to install the Facebook pixel. So if you're like, what is the Facebook pixel? I don't know what to do here. We do have a training on that in our academy. And I would highly suggest that you look at doing that. And if you have more questions on the Facebook pixel, we can talk about those later, or we can talk offline too. Make sure your website is secure. So we just had a big internal conversation with our team about like the things that are a must, and security on a website is one of them. So security on your website, having a privacy policy on your website, and being mobile friendly. Like you can't not do that anymore. Like it's just basically like those are three things that you have to do. And the reason is that not only if you're running Facebook ads, but Google will deprioritize your website organically if it's not secure, if it's not, doesn't have a privacy policy, and if it's not mobile friendly. So besides being, dinged for that, also people, when they go there, they are not going to convert as high. So I don't know if any of you have ever gone to a website and it has like this blocker. It says, are you sure you want to enter this website? It's not secure. And you're like, do I enter it or do I not? Like, you don't want to be a website that does that. And that comes from not having that security. On your website and on your Facebook page, in your profile section, making sure your address, phone number, email is easy to find. You don't want to make it hard for people to contact you. If it's too hard, they won't go out of their way to do it. So make sure it's front and center so that they can easily contact you. I've talked about this already, but making sure your website is mobile responsive. This is one of my biggest pet peeves, is when websites aren't mobile responsive, because over 80% of traffic going to your website is actually on a mobile phone. So if it's not mobile friendly, those people are going to be frustrated the entire time they're trying to navigate your website. With that, websites, platforms nowadays, whether you're using WordPress or Squarespace or all the other ones, most of those templates are mobile response first. So if you're like, okay, I need to kind of refresh things, you can do that in a way that's mobile first, but usually that goes from going away from whatever the website you've been using for a long time is, and just kind of upgrading to a more mobile responsive dashboard. I talked about this already. It's not even a suggestion anymore. It's like a requirement, is adding a privacy policy page or policy page on your website. And that's, when you're running Facebook ads, you have to have that, because Facebook will reject your advertisements if you don't have a policy page. And you can't even run certain ads without it. And it also, in Google rankings, they can ding you for not having that on your checklist. Okay, so just last slide. I think most of you might already be in the group, but if you haven't, join the Facebook group. I'm in there. I respond to things. If you tag me in it, Hannah Harper is my name. You can tag me, ask me questions. I'll post in there frequently too, with some tips and stuff. We do have the Gymnastics Marketing Academy. We're doing that as a donation base right now. So when I was talking about like the Facebook Pixel installation tutorial, that's in there. I mean, I think we have like over 60 or 70 training videos in there now, like on how to reopen your gym. We have strategy on how to like build those ads, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. And I would say take advantage of that right now, because like it's a donation. It's like you can sign up without paying, like if you wanted to, and just take advantage of all that stuff. And then if you don't want to deal with any of it, our team, we have a team of people that literally every day, all they do is advertising for gymnastics gyms. Like that is their job. And so we would be more than happy to work with you. We're doing a special reopen campaign project right now, which is like only $500, Andy, correct?
Yep.
And they get a full month of advertising that basically promotes your newly opened gym.
Yeah, what we do is we set it up. It's $500. We set it up for you, so everything's set up. But remember, it's not 1 month and everything starts happening. You know, this is a process, but we set it all up for you, so it's all there, and then you can manage it from there if you wish to. You know, it's important though that if you did go down that route for the 1 month, you know, getting everything set up and kick-started, that you understand that it's a 3, 4, 5 month process to get really, really significant results. It's like anything, you know, if you start putting the word out there, you know, people need to hear it a few times and people need to you know, start buying into it. But we basically set up like you're a regular client that will stick with us for years and years, but then you just run with it after that first month. It's a way for us to try and get as many gyms shipshape in Facebook before they start rolling it themselves. So I know, Jan, you were thinking of having somebody come in and replacing the girl that you had prior. It might be an option for you to actually have it set up correctly and then have somebody run it for you. Sorry, I think Jan, were you going to say something, Jan? No? Yep. Unmute. I can go unmute for you. No. There you go.
No, we actually, you know, when I watched this a month ago, we signed up and did the 500 starter trial. I'm just, because I kind of put Ellie in charge of it, I'm not sure that I'm like, you know, I guess I'm just not sure, period. I'm afraid that there's people that are trying to contact us and I'm missing it because I'm not seeing a whole lot. But yet I guess we do have it set up to where they can go straight to our website. So maybe, you know, we're getting those people and they're calling us or what have you, because there's not a whole lot coming through showing up as the ad. So that's,
and I can speak to that strategy a little bit. So with the first 30 days, we take what we call like an amplified approach. So we're looking at all the different ways that parents could contact you, but then also we're also looking at it's brand awareness and like business awareness, because if I'm a parent and I've already signed my kid up in a program, and then I see your ad, I might not be ready to sign up my kid right now, but now I know who you are, that you exist, what you're offering. And so when time comes to make a decision, you know, in a month or two, now all of a sudden you're part of that decision-making process. But then with the amplified part, it's looking at not just getting people to like submit a lead on Facebook, it's getting more people to call you, getting them to message you on Facebook, you know, like the whole thing, right?
Yeah. My biggest concern is that I'm not responding to something that I should be responding to, and I don't want them to think, oh, you know, if they can't even call me back, you know, I definitely don't want to bring my child there. So that's why I was worried about.
And in all honesty, that's why it's important to build out a process with which it comes through to you in a really easy to organize way, because you're right, you know, people might message you on Facebook, people, you know, to your business, people might make comments on your ad, people might email you, people might call you, people might submit a form lead. There's millions of ways that people reach out to our clients. And what we want to do is help you kind of like somewhat build a catchment system so you could manage it. Although some of it is going to be just showing you these are the areas that you need to be looking, because there's some things we just can't capture, but you need to understand that these are happening. One of the most common things is to make sure that you have your Facebook page up with your business Facebook page. So when people message you or interact with your page, you're getting alerts. So whoever's at the front desk can see those alerts.
Okay.
Right? Because that is different to your personal profile, right, guys? So just because you're connected to your page doesn't always mean you're going to get all the alerts on your personal profile.
Okay. And so
Jan,
that's
what's your gym name?
Northside Gymnastic Academy.
Okay. Just looking. And you're still live, or if it's
Yes.
so I would just suggest reaching out to your account manager, because we might have some strategies that we've helped some of our
Okay.
other gyms that are trying to consolidate too with messaging.
Okay.
and
I
stuff.
talked with her last week.
Okay.
But one of the reasons why I'm watching is so that I maybe understand a little bit more, so that when I am talking with her, I understand what she's telling me.
Absolutely. Cool.
Cool. But here's the good news that I want you to take away from this. You guys don't necessarily need to be the expert. If you're a DIYer, we're going to give you all the information so you can DIY it, right? Because I know there's some people that like to do it themselves. What I want you guys to know as gym owners and managers is that you can absolutely own your local community from a messaging standpoint, so everybody understands what your business is about. Most of you are producing and offering a great service and something that's really needed, even in the best of times and in the worst of times. And the biggest thing that we're missing as an industry, I believe, is organized, professional way of getting that message out, right? And in reality, as I keep saying over and over again, the good news is your competition's doing a poor job, right? Gymnastics gyms are doing a poor job. So if you're the first one in your area, you can get on top of it. But all the other kids activity centers are doing a poor job too. So get on top of it, get that message rolling, and then start educating. And, I hate to use the term, but basically brainwashing your local community into knowing what a wonderful organization you guys offer, and that it is a safe place to operate. It is a safe place to send their kids, and they can have all the things that they want without necessarily risking grandma, right?
Yeah.
And it's never been this way. And as Hannah said before, it's never been this cheap, because so many people are not doing anything. So many businesses are not operating, that Facebook is super cheap right now, because the auction system, the way the dollars calculated of how much to spend is based on an auction system. So you guys know, if there's no one coming up to the auction, the guy who does turn up tends to get a good deal. So, honestly, what that ends up meaning is that, and we do a lot of e-commerce as well. Hannah runs, our e-com side as well. And the e-coms are doing like out of this world business right now. Like they are just making a killing, in the hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes. And it's because the cost to get a sale is so cheap, because so few people are actually utilizing it. So you guys have an opportunity to actually, in a very cost-effective way, because I know your budgets aren't big, really start training and getting your local community to, one, know that you exist, and then two, know that you're safe, and three, hopefully come in and do business with you. And that should be your goal. And if you're not doing it professionally, either internally with a staff member who really knows what they're doing, or an organization like us, or you knowing it inside out yourself, you're missing out on a massive opportunity. And that's it. So with that, Hannah, tomorrow, so that's Hannah. Tomorrow we're going to be talking to Russell. I highly recommend that you're there, because it's going to be some heavy lifting, because it's a lot of technical discussion. But Russell's going to be talking about budgets. He's going to be talking about audiences. And the reality is, the real magic source of this is how to craft audiences that work, right?
Yeah.
Because you do not want your message going to people that have no interest, right? You don't want your message, I keep using the 22-year-old drunk who wants to go and get party on the weekends, doesn't have kids or anything, has no interest in having little kids coming to gymnastics lessons. We don't want those guys, getting your message, or anybody else that's not likely to want to be a customer.
Can I add to that, Andy?
Yeah.
because if you're sending ads to the wrong people, people can mark to like not see your ads, or that don't display this, or this isn't relevant to me. And that can actually negatively impact the quality ranking of your advertisement. So people can also, that don't care about your business, so the audience becomes even more powerful to make sure that's dialed in, so that people that it's not relevant to aren't penalizing you for it too, as well.
Yeah. And you get it right, it's tremendous. And, you know, the clients that we've had for over 6 months just have a really strong system. And, you know, the ones that have been with us for years, they basically dominate their local community, right? And and the goal ultimately is, and I said this at the beginning of mindset and goals, is to get to a place where you no longer even worry about where the next gymnast is going to come from. You pretty much are maxed out. You know, Jan, you know, we know that your market could have 1,300 kids. Let's get to the maximum that your building can sustain. And then you just focus on making sure you're offering the best program possible. On top of that, you can start raising the prices. You know, we have one gym that has 8,000 square feet. They've got to 1,000 kids. They can't squeeze any more in. They're open every day. Sundays, busy days. Sundays, they're really, really busy. Because they can't add anymore, they keep raising the price because where they really want to be is 900 kids, because they feel that 900 is a little bit more breathing space. So they keep raising the price, and they lose about 100 kids, and then 100 more kids come in at the new price. They've gone from $85 to $145. And they're thinking, man, could we raise it to 155? Let's see what happens. So they're going to plan on doing that probably once the COVID virus has calmed down a little bit. But they're on this trajectory of not trying to grow their gym, but grow their tuition, right? And the cool thing about that stage is that if you know that you got 900 kids and you can't have any more, every time you raise the rates, that's profit to you guys. Because your cost isn't going up. You don't have any more coaches or anything. You know, there's not that extra cost that those extra kids have. That's just profit. And obviously that allows you to pay to get better coaches, to get more coaches, to make sure that you're the organization where the coaches go to. You know, and what's really important to me is that you guys individually are getting paid more, because no one in this business typically gets into it for wealth, but you can be very comfortable. There's no reason why you can't be very comfortable and do well financially as well. So with that, I look forward to all of you coming tomorrow. Heavy lifting with Russell. We're going to go through the algorithm. We're going to go through how to set up an ad using the right categories depending on what you want to do, making sure you're building out a really good audience, using zip codes, using interests, all the different things that you can use to actually build out a really targeted audience that reaches the mums in your community or the parents in your community, so you're not wasting any dollars and getting the most out of your efforts. So please make sure that you come to that, because it's real gold. Whilst this one's a really good one and my one was a really good one, I really highly recommend tomorrow's. That's where you'll be like, oh wow, now I see why Facebook's so powerful, right?
It's kind of creepy.
It's kind of creepy. It is creepy. If I wasn't a marketer, I would probably be creeped out by it. But hey, who cares? We want to get parents brainwashed, right, into thinking. Well, not thinking. It makes it sound like we're not doing it. But we want to really educate the parents in our community to absolutely know the good stuff that is happening in our businesses, and it can absolutely be done. So with that, I'm gonna let you all go. I keep feeling like I'm kicking out a bunch of friends out of my house after a party when I finish.